Welcome to Genuine Voices. I'm Jen Airley with The Moral Edge, and today I have with me the beautiful, the special, very holy Sara Zimbalist. Sara, who, I don't know if you even know this, but really, I always looked to you because we had daughters in class together, and I knew you were Ichud Hatzalah. To me, that was so cool. And then learning you were raising a Down syndrome son. I was like, how's she doing everything? And then 2 years ago, as we were celebrating our son's bar mitzvah, Parshat Naso, came the news, Motzei Shabbos, that somebody called me to say, Jen, I know of people that might need help and support. Do you think it's okay if I go to their house? How did you feel 6 months earlier? And I said, or actually less than 6 months, but I said, don't go run over. But who is this? She goes, Jen, you know her. My heart dropped. She didn't even say who. I was like, oh no, I can't. And then she's like, you don't want me to tell you? I said, no, I need to know. And that was Elie Moshe day. And Hashem said, I'm taking him with me today. So with all of my previous background to you, we have a new connection, and we seem to keep having more connections, but we'll get to that later. But that was my Yaakov's bar mitzvah and Elie Moshe. I call it new birthday. A birthday up in Shemayim, right? He had a birthday down here, and he has a birthday up there. Like called Binyamin. Binyamin just had his, 2.5-year-old birthday. So let's just background, because I want to focus on where I found you first. And that was because you were one of the pieces of inspiration for me to become a medic. Because if other women can deliver children not in a hospital and with 4 years of training out to become the midwife and all that, I'm like, she can just deliver children from Ichud Hatzalah. And I became through Mada. I was like, I want to be like Sara. So
I didn't know that about you.
I'm telling you.
I think it was 2019, a group was opening, an English-speaking group run through United Hatzalah. And the reason I just was on the tail of everybody else, I guess, once I heard about it. A lot of people, they raised money for this course to happen in English because they normally give courses in Hebrew, but a lot of Olim live in my area, or people who are more comfortable learning in English. And we had a course together. Maybe there were 35 of us at the beginning. And we had a very intense course. I got this book that thick. I felt like I was going to medical school.
I've seen the it's big.
And we took the course. I think it was a 9-month course. And then once you pass the course, you go on your Amishtalem, where you have to go on other courses with people who are already chofshim, because you can't go alone until you get a certain number of courses. But that fell out during 2020, which is when Corona happened. And a lot of the medics were going into bidud because they went on a call. They went into isolation, and then they were short medics. So I think normally you have to do 70 calls with other medics to get experience. They dropped it down to 50. We had to get the main ones like trauma, CPR. We had to get those in, but very soon I got my bag in either November or December 2020, and then I could go out on calls myself. Ichud Hatzalah is a wonderful organization. United Hatzalah is a wonderful organization. I am part of the Sandberg Women's Unit. There are over 2,000 women medics. And a cute or cool statistic is that in 2025, there are over 150 calls that were responded to by women medics.
Wow. Do you know what that number is in Beit Shemesh?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't ask. And the women that make up these over 2,000 I guess we are called responders.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just medics. It's also psychotrauma responders, as well as phlebotomists, people who draw blood as part of training from Ichud Hatzalah. Um, and um, and it's great because we work with everybody. Ichud Hatzalah, United Hatzalah, there are Jewish women, there are Christian women, there are Muslim women, and obviously men as well, all working together to save lives. So to be able to save lives is just such a privilege. And I very much appreciate having the skills that I learned because one of the reasons why I decided to join the course is because somebody in our community was on a run and he collapsed and kids found him in the street and they didn't know what to do. And I thought to myself, I wouldn't know what to do. But if I could learn how to save a life, I want to. You know, in my community, we're getting older and people have older parents and I want to know what to do. So I'm very thankful that there is this course. Additionally, I took a psychotrauma course in Hebrew called Chosen. So what is psychotrauma? It's when there is a traumatic event and people on the scene need help getting out of their trauma. There's a way to do it, and very easy, that can calm them down mentally, not emotionally, and it helps dissolve their trauma. And it is really life-saving because they could experience a trauma but not have lasting effects of a trauma if they get intervention. So I myself used that on myself after our trauma of receiving the news about Elie Moshe's death. And I feel like everything that comes my way is preparatory to something else. And I really have a lot of hakarat hatov to Hashem and to Ichud Hatzalah for learning those tools that help me and my family on a pretty regular basis because things happen. And
you're thankful to them, but you made the choice to want to be that.
Correct. But I
I'm
needed
saying,
their help.
You chose to be one of the people to want to save lives, Sarah. That's you. Like, that says a lot about you. The fact that, yes, it did help you. Isn't that amazing, though?
I like helping. So it's just another way to help people. Elie Moshe liked helping too.
Well, let's actually go back. What we didn't discuss in the intro was you also moved to Israel. You made Aliyah. This is not your motherland from, well, I guess it was from original, but tell me when, where, from, all of that.
Okay. Where to start?
I know, right?
My first trip to Israel, I was 11 years old, first time on an airplane. And when we got to the hotel, I turned to my parents and I said, I've been here before. And my father's like, Sarah, it was your first time on an airplane. I said, no, Abba, I've been here before. I've seen the hotel before. And he said, you've seen pictures from school. I said, no, I had this feeling like I've been here before. And I knew my way around the old city. It was weird. And then my mother said, oh my goodness, I was 3 months pregnant with you.
No.
So you have been here before, Sarah, but in a very different capacity. So from then on, I had this love and desire to live in Israel. But I was 11 years old. So it took some time. Only wanted to date boys that were going to move to Israel. Baruch Hashem, I needed one. Met him right away. And we decided one day we would move. We didn't know when. We weren't putting a date or time on it. And then our oldest was born. And we said, okay, when she's in kindergarten, we're going to have to go. And life happens. We lived at that point. We made Aliyah from Silver Spring, Maryland. We had 4 kids. And Nefesh B'Nefesh started in 2002. And we had friends making Aliyah with Nefesh B'Nefesh, working for Nefesh B'Nefesh. And I turned to my husband. I said, remember, we wanted to make Aliyah. And okay, we thought about it again and kind of still tabled it. And then in 2004, our neighbors across the street said they're making Aliyah with Nefesh B'Nefesh. Our neighbors around the corner said they're making Aliyah with Nefesh B'Nefesh. And I turned to my husband. I said, okay, I think we really, really have to think about this seriously because our oldest at the time was in third grade or going into third grade. So we scheduled a pilot trip. We brought the whole family, all of us, all 6 of us, on a pilot trip in January 2005. We came for 2 weeks. We dealt with a double ear infection, making antibiotics, a child falling off the couch, cutting her head open, an ambulance ride, being glued, paying for the ambulance ride. We come home. I say, I think we can manage. We managed. I think we can manage. We had a real life pilot trip. And if we could do all those things, we should really move. And we decided. And so August 3rd, 2005, we landed in Israel with our children ages 8, 6, 4, and 2. And I was expecting our 5th at the time. And we came straight to Beit Shemesh because there was a train and my husband knew he was going to get a job in Tel Aviv. So, and we knew also we would only have one car at the beginning. So that's why we moved to Beit Shemesh. And we've been on the same street ever since. Different houses, but same street.
So you were expecting number 5. And then?
3.5 months after we made Aliyah, Avraham was born. Avram, surprise, was born with Down syndrome.
And you didn't know?
We did not know in advance, but when I saw him, I knew right away. And the nurses knew that this was my first baby in Israel, so they called a doctor in and to check him right away. And it was a young doctor. And he looked him over and he wrote down on the paper, Yeled Bari, a healthy baby. And then I'm holding him and I'm looking at him and I say to the midwives, well, why are his eyes so slanty? And why are his ears folded over? And why is he sticking out his tongue? And for every question, they had a response until I said, no, I think he has Down syndrome. And they said, you do? They saw it also, but they couldn't say what you're supposed to have, like a social worker tell you with a doctor. And here I am telling them. And so my husband said, I think that means we want another doctor to check over our baby. And a doctor came down and checked him out and said, I see what you see, but it might not be because there are different kinds of Down syndrome. Some are genetic, some are just Hashem, a fluke. And we said, okay, we want to know what he has. We're not leaving this hospital until we find out. They said, oh, but that takes 2 weeks. You can't stay for 2 weeks. So they said, but there is a test that within 3 days they can tell if it's trisomy 21, which is just an extra chromosome, the 21st chromosome. So he was born Tuesday. Thursday afternoon, we find out, yes, Avram has trisomy 21, classic Down syndrome. But he also had a heart defect, which I think 1 in 3 Down syndrome babies have a heart defect. And we knew he was going to need heart surgery in the coming months. It was a very big surprise and shock. But at the same time, I was so grateful to Hashem that I did not know before we made Aliyah. Over and over again, I said, Hashem, thank you for that present. Thank you for that present of not knowing. Because Hashem, you knew I wanted to make Aliyah so badly. And if I knew, I don't know what the answer would have been. I don't know what decision I would have made. It would have been such a hard decision. I thank you for not having me have to make that decision. That Avram could be born here and raised in Eretz Israel. It's a bracha for him, a bracha for us. And we try to look for the good. And Avram's second name is Yair because we wanted him to light up the world, that he will bring his light to the world, to our family, to the world, and he definitely lights up our lives and everyone's.
Well, how did your children react to having?
So when he was born and they came to the hospital the first time to see him, we didn't say anything. It was only when we brought him home, everyone was around him and looking at him, and we said, you know what, guys? Avraham, like everyone, we're all special, we're all unique, we're all different. But Avram has a few more challenges that he has to go through, and we're here to help him. And so the kids were coming up with things. They're like, oh, if Avram needs help playing with toys, we'll help him. We're going to help Avram walk. And they were all just coming up with ways to help Avram because we said he's going to need a little extra help. That's basically, he said he's a baby like any other baby. He's just going to need some extra help. And they were all willing to put in that extra help. It's very sweet.
They have their mama and their daddy's genes of wanting to do chesed and do kindness for others.
Yeah.
And then the next one after?
The next children
Yeah.
after, right. So after Abraham, so Shoshana was born. And then Batsheva, our youngest, our seventh, Batsheva.
So you have a busy household.
Yes, Baruch Hashem.
And then where's Elie Mo in your family?
So Elie Moshe was our fourth child, our first boy born after three girls.
So he was the first one going to the army, or you had?
He's the only one because Avram is not. Avram is 20 now, but I don't think he's going to. I mean, he already got his exemption. But there are other army programs for people with special needs that maybe we'll pursue. I don't know. We have to find out more information.
So, okay. So what was it like sending a son off to the army? Here you are in Eretz Yisrael, living the land, and now you have to deal with an army, deal with a soldier, right? You've had girls, you've had girl fights, maybe not in the Zimbalist home, but so this is a new reality that.
So we knew making Aliyah when Elie Mo was 2.5. Then around 18 years from then, he was going to join the army. And we kept saying, Mashiach's going to be here by then. So don't worry about it. You can't worry about something that is not in your hands. So, okay, the day of his Giyus came, and I'm like, I can't believe this is happening. Mashiach was supposed to be here already. But this is how we raised him. And this is what he wanted to do. He felt it was important to serve our country and protect our country. And I felt that day, I'm really an Israeli now. How many experiences do you have, or especially in the later years after making Aliyah, you don't have as many Israeli moments as you have when you're earlier on in your Aliyah. And so Elie Moshe joining the army that day felt like such an Israeli moment that we hadn't had one in a long time. And we felt proud, and we were nervous, like every parent who sends their child to the army. But we daven that Hashem will take care of everyone. And we hoped for the best, not knowing there was no war on the horizon. This was March 2023. And we just wished him a boring Sheirut. We made him a Kiddush at our house after Shabbos, and everyone was wishing him a boring service.
Which is the last thing these boys actually want.
Correct.
Right? None of them. But I totally relate what you said. I remember all the years that we made Aliyah, living here, and every time it would be Yom HaZikaron, and I would be crying for all the, listening to stories of other soldiers, and I was just, I always thought who am I to just come on the wings of eagles, these nefesh benefesh flights, and love living here, but didn't earn the land, didn't have to fight for it, didn't have to work for it. I just get to build a house and settle. And I just remember really feeling deserving of my Israeli ID until Binyamin was going to the army. And I was like, now I'm going to earn my Israeli identification. It's just the new level of feeling I'm part of this now for real. Right? Now I'm really Israeli, right?
Right. And then the next time I felt that way was after he was killed. I felt like now I'm the most Israeli I could get.
We're more Israeli than Israelis.
Yeah, I guess so.
Our blood is spilled on this land.
Yes.
We've earned this land.
Yes. And we are part of history, and they're part of history. And it's hard to wrap my mind around that this is our reality. Still, it's almost 2 years. On Tet Sivan, we will have his second Azkara, Bezrat Hashem. And it's surreal in many ways that this is our reality. I accept it, but it's hard. We miss him.
And sometimes we just, what did we really have to really go through that? Maybe he's still going to come home. Maybe he's just on his trip. This reality of I have to sometimes still remind myself, it's been 2.5 years. Remind myself, I'm one of those families. We actually have somebody of my blood my cells are buried on Har Herzl, a mountain that I would go to visit the other honored soldiers, like the other Giborim, the others who were ready to give their life for Am Yisrael. And now sometimes that reality of like, I'm one of those. Yeah.
Yeah.
How did Avram handle that?
It was really bad for him. It was Shabbos, as you said earlier, that Elie Moshe was killed. Elie Moshe was killed with 7 other soldiers in his armored personnel carrier. So 8 soldiers at once is devastating. 1 is devastating, but 8 is unfathomable. And when we found out, there were too many fires to be putting out. There's so many people in pain, so many people with their emotions, and you can't make it better. You're a mom and you have all these kids here who are crying their eyes out. You know their lives have changed forever, and you can't help them, really. Avram, I definitely feel like I didn't give him enough attention that day. I don't know if I gave anyone enough attention that day. It was a complete shock. And for me, I kept saying, it's Shabbos. I can't cry. It's Shabbos. Shabbos. It's not a day of sadness. So I gave myself 2 times to just cry, very short spurts. And then I had to be strong for everyone else. And Avram took it very, very, very hard. And it's still very hard for him.
It's his brother.
Yeah, his only brother. I mean, he has, Baruch Hashem, wonderful brother-in-laws, but it was his brother. They shared their room, and Elie Moshe did everything with him. He didn't leave him behind. He took him on his handyman, jobs, and took him shopping and would buy him things. And he was a wonderful big brother to all of his siblings, and a wonderful brother, not big brother to all, but my heart really broke for my children. I'm older. I have more experience in life. I can handle more. My kids were young. They shouldn't have to be going through something like that. My grandchildren have to lose an uncle. Awful. Terrible. And I felt very helpless in that respect, that how do you help these kids lead a normal life after such traumatic news and traumatic experiences? So right then and there, as we're all crying, we did a group hug, and I said to my kids, I said, I don't know where the words came from. Hashem just put them in my mouth. We're going to be okay. And one of my kids pipes up and says, through her tears, we are going to be a happy family. I think that I get up every morning because of my children. I want what's best for them. I want them to not be stigmatized by being a bereaved family. I want them not to be labeled in that way. I want them that it's part of their life, but it doesn't take over their life. I want them to be able to grow and be happy and experience good things while carrying their brother with them and not stopping them from doing things. So I kept telling myself, I have to get up. If I want them to get up, I have to get up. If I want them to move forward, I have to move forward. I am the role model. Kids model their parents. And I heard my children saying word for word things that I had said to others. So I can see that this is
a huge parenting lesson.
It's a huge parenting lesson. Huge, huge. And I also know what Elie Moshe would want. He never said it. We never talked about it, because you don't talk about things like that with your son when they're in the army. I could picture him looking at me saying, Ima, what are you doing? And just not letting me stay down. Just keep going. That's what he would have wanted from all of us. And he he told it to us through his friend. Boys don't leave letters, especially the unmarried boys. I think they don't make them write a goodbye letter because you can't go into war thinking you're not going to come back.
Right, that's the army joke. If you write a letter, it's because you think you're not coming back, right? Like,
yeah. So he didn't write anything, but he had a very serious conversation with his chavruta 2 months before he was killed, and he said to his chavruta, "What would you do if I don't come back?" And he said, "I would cry forever." And he asked him again. He's like, no, you can't. If I don't come back, what would you do? And he said, I would cry forever. And Elie Moshe said to him, you can cry a little with your head held high. So that is what we do. We cry a little, we wipe our tears, and we go on.
I remember the first morning of Shiva. Minyan in the house, everyone's davening, and so I'm davening with them. I have my sitter, and okay, Baruch Shamar. Oh, Ashrei ha'am shekachalo. Happy is the nation who has this. Happy is the nation who has God as their. Really happy is that what? So blessed is the one. I couldn't say the word. Sarah. I closed my sitter, and I just was crying because I wanted to say the words. I'm like, Hashem, how can I say I'm so happy with you? How can I be praising you for what you did? And I lost it. But this is the Elie Mo moment. I was sitting there, and then I heard Binyamin say, "Mommy, get up. Mommy, get up." Okay, so we listen to our boys because that's what we do. So I got up and I continued davening, and afterwards the rabbi, checked in on me. How you doing? I said, well, it was really hard to daven. It's like praying was like really. He said, you don't have to. Like, you're allowed to be upset at Hashem. You're allowed to say, I'm not talking to you. I said, yeah, but Binyamin said, Mommy, get up. And he said, you don't have to listen to him. I'm like, I thought about it, and I heard Binyamin again. I'm like, no, I have to. I know that if I were to stay in bed and I were to close the blinds and shut the lights and say, I'm not doing today, I feel like Binyamin would get out of his grave just to give me a kick in the behind to say, Mommy, this is not what I live for. It's not what I died for. You get out, right? Like, I feel like they believe in life. That's what they fought for. It's what they died for because they believe in living. They want us to live. Like, this is that whole thing. So sometimes I want to test him. I'm like, maybe I'll stay in bed just to see if he gets out. But this is it. We're charged with life.
We are charged with life. Mm-hmm. And living a good life.
Meaning, value, intention, like purposeful, not like to spend the day in a mall. Like, we are charged with a mission now.
And we have to value our time here very much. I know Elie Moshe did value his time here.
What do you mean?
Elie Moshe did not like to be late. He did not like people waiting, to be kept waiting. And he didn't like when he had to wait for others. And he got up early for davening, and he got to davening on time or early. Like, he understood at a very young age the importance of time and not to waste time. And he was a kid, so there were times where, he did do kid things. He wasn't always like an adult from birth, but I remember they were waiting till they were going back in, and they kept pushing it off. And every day they thought they'd go back, and then they pushed it off. And it was very, very upsetting to him. He's like,
going back in as into Gaza.
Back into Gaza. And they did it 3 times in a row, meaning he thought he had 24 hours, and then it became 48 hours, and then it became 72 hours. And he just wished that they told him 3 days ago that you're going to be off for 3 days. He's like, I could have started a project. I could have finished a project. I could have done so much. Instead, it kind of hindered him because there was always this transition between going from army to home and home back to army. He had to get himself mentally prepared to become a soldier again after coming back into civilian life for 24 hours, 48 hours. And then to go back into army life was definitely a process for him. When I would drive him back to base, we often had very quiet drives with very little discussion, because I could see his mind working and him talking to himself in a way like, okay, I did all this and now I'm going to be doing this, and I have to prepare myself to leave the luxury of being at a home and sleeping in the dirt and the bugs and the flies and the garbage. And it was something he was preparing himself, like in a way to protect himself. Had to prepare himself. So not knowing when he was going back in was very hard. And then the night before he actually went back in, it's like, I didn't do this. And we had a leak and he wanted to scrape it away and replaster it. And 11 o'clock at night, that's what he's doing, because he felt like, I have to do something. I didn't do as much as I wanted to do, but I could do this now. And he just really valued time. He had a hard time in the Army with that, because you're not on your own time in the Army. And that was a challenge for him. It was a very, very big challenge, especially at the beginning in basic training. You're really not on your own time. They tell you when to get up. They tell you when to go to bed. They tell you when you have a break. They tell you when you could go to the bathroom. It's hard. It's hard. It's an adjustment, but not one that he couldn't do. It was an adjustment.
So how do you feel that this has charged you?
Oh, I wish I could be like Elie Moshe. He had so much more energy or koach at times.
He wasn't raising a dynasty of children and grandchildren.
Correct. But I think about things that he did a lot, and I think about how to be more like Elie Moshe. Like, where was I? I was in the Kupat Cholim today, and I saw the same cleaner. He cleans the hallways, takes things out, and Elie Moshe probably would have known him by name by now. I don't know his name, but I saw another worker go over, like they passed each other in the hall, and he did say hi by name, how are you? And it was such an Elie Moshe moment. Like, I was witnessing. It wasn't me doing it, but something Elie Moshe would have done. So I do try to acknowledge people that normally people just walk right past in the hallway. I do try to talk to my cashiers at the supermarket. And a few weeks ago, I had a cashier, and I smiled and I asked her how she's doing, and I thanked her, and she said to me, "You have such a pretty smile." And I was like, I guess the smile to her left an impression, and she said something which, I turned bright red, but it was an Elie Moshe moment. Elie Moshe had the biggest smile, and he smiled at everyone. He talked to everybody, made them feel very good with his words and his asking about them. And the bus driver came to pay a shiva call. The driver that drove the boys into Gaza, to the border.
Wow.
He said, because Elie Moshe asked me, how am I doing? How's my family? Every time he got on the bus. So it was week in, week out. It left an impression on him. He said, how can I not come and tell the family my little interaction with Elie Moshe?
First of all, Mika Amcha Yisrael, that there is somebody that even is sensitive enough to not just recognize somebody special, but to come and acknowledge and make the travel to you to let you know how special your son is, right?
Yeah.
And then also just your son in his own right. Have you done any ichud shifts? I know I personally have not done. I went back to Magen David Adom for a little while. And then life just got too crazy. Like I couldn't commit to such schedules and longer shifts. I mean, we had longer shifts than you. You just get to show up and help and heal and go home. And we have to sit there all day. But have you gone back to that, or doing the trauma therapy, or is that filling you? How's your life changed in a quick minute here?
Okay, so after Elie Moshe was killed, I took a break. But that was June. I do remember going on one call in September, and my first call after his death was, I came like a minute after a baby was born. This little baby girl was born. The father delivered her, and literally the baby was still attached, lying next to her mother, and we clamped her cord, and another chovesh cut it, and we assessed the baby, and we were the mother, and it was like, it was Hashem showing me, Sarah, there is life. There is, like, of my first call back was life. and how important it was for us to be there for that woman, even though we missed the actual birth, but we were there for the placenta. We were there to help clean her. We were here to support her. She was thrilled that there were female medics there to be there with her. But then I took a very long break. It probably was like a year, because how do you help others if you can't help yourself? And I was busy trying to help my family and help me go on properly. Not that there's a definition, but I needed the break. I didn't think I could help others. And then I slowly started going back. I try now to do 2 or 3 shifts a month with a friend.
Amazing.
And the war made it a little more challenging because my kids don't like the noise of my device. They don't want to hear the calls. It's very hard for them. So I have to do it when they're not home, but they've been home a lot. So it's limiting. It's not as much as I would like, but I do go out, and I feel very fulfilled being able to help, being there for others in their time of need.
Right. I think this idea of putting your family first is actually the real lesson, and the real takeaway is so many of us want to go out and help save the world, but are we really focused on our core? I can tell you as a exercise physiologist, like if your core is not in place and your core is not strengthened, the rest of your body's out of whack. Your core family, yourself and your circle, and this is Torah, this is everything that we know of. First, ground, center, your family, and then you can keep going outwards. And I know that Elie Moshe is your core. It's your family's core. And now he's given you this charge of, take care of us, take care of my peoples, and then take care of my rest of my peoples.
Right.
Sounds like you're doing a fantastic job in all of that. And you should have continued inspiration from him and strength from him. And please, God, as much as you and I both, we've had lots of private discussions about this, we know our boys are having the time of their lives. They're dancing, they're learning, they're doing all the wonderful things. And down here are the ones that are in pain with the longing and the missing them. But okay, we're going to all be dancing again soon.
No, very soon.
Very soon.
Very
Be'ezrat
soon.
Hashem.
Be'ezrat Hashem.
All right, sister.
Thank you.
Party on, right? Thanks for joining us.